Everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day. I'm here to drop some estate planning knowledge on you again today. Apologize if you're watching this video and it's shaky. I forgot my little tripod, so I'm holding this up, and we are, about 12 seconds in, and my shoulder's already so tired. So this could be interesting. But today I want to talk about community property agreements. Before I do that, I want to remind you, if you have questions about this or anything else related to estate planning, you want to talk to us about anything, you can go to cmslawfirm.com. Talk to us for free. Sign up. There's a little thing right there, and love to talk to you. Okay, cmslawfirm.com. All right. So today's conversation comes from a potential client meeting that I had today with someone who owns some real estate, is married, and was very concerned that her property, which is titled as joint tenants for both of them, which basically means they both own 1/2 interest, was not going to sort of pass on the right way because there was no community property agreement. And she wanted to know what a community property agreement was and how it worked and why she did or didn't need one. And there was some confusion over the community property agreement, so I wanted to just talk about it here. Talked about it to her, I'll talk about it to you, because that's what I do. I'm a giver. So community property agreements, I don't know if they're just only in Washington State or not, if they're sort of a product of Washington State law, but they definitely exist here. However, with that being said, I don't use community property agreements for my clients ever. And I'll sort of connect those dots here in a minute. But the basic gist of the community property agreement is to create a scenario where two spouses who don't want to create a will, who don't want to create a plan. I'm going to just set this down. We're going to have a bad angle today. You guys are going to need to look up at my shelves today. If you don't have a plan, an estate plan, a will, and you want to make sure that everything goes to your spouse, you would do a community property agreement. That community property agreement just says, hey, we want to make everything community property. Like, it's pretty straightforward. And then when the one spouse dies, you can just sort of show that to the world, and it helps everything just transfer from one spouse to another. You don't need that if you have a will, because the will basically says the same thing. The will basically says, when I die, I want everything to go to my spouse. And unless there is some weirdness going on, unless you haven't done some other things that you should be doing with regard to beneficiary designations and accounts that only have one account holder, then the community property agreement is really not necessary. And so if you want to have both, it's sort of overkill. I know some attorneys will do both. They charge for both, I'm sure, and everybody's happy in quotation marks. But for the most part, you don't really need the community property agreement, because if you create a will and you give everything to your spouse and then you give everything to your kids after that, what you're basically doing is creating a scenario where everything that you own, both community property and separate property, is going to go to the spouse. If you want to give something to somebody else, then you will outline that in your will, and it will pass on just the way that it's supposed to. So community property agreements, while they sound really great and they sound fancy, they're really sort of not necessary when you're doing legit estate planning. Okay. With that being said, when you have property and it's owned jointly with the married couple, and someone dies, that property is just going to go to the spouse. If you have a will, it will just go to them. And there's a way you can make that do the transaction and do things without needing to go through probate, if that's what you're worried about. But if you want to know more about that, I can tell you all about it. Maybe that's a topic for another video. But the summary of all of this is that you don't need a community property agreement in Washington State if you have a will. Okay, you just don't need it. All right, that's it. That's it for today. Quickie, shorty but a goodie. As always, if you want to talk estate planning or probate with us for free, you can go to cmslawfirm.com and do that. I'd be happy to talk to you, help you out, answer your questions, see what you got going on. And that's it. So as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate you. Have a great day. See ya.